France, autumn 1944. An American infantry column moves down a country road. The morning is crisp and clear. Radio chatter is routine. Map coordinates check out. Enemy resistance over the past 2 days has been light, scattered, almost negligible. The platoon leader glances at his map, then at the road ahead. Everything looks exactly as it should. Clean route, good visibility. His men are in formation. Morale is solid. They've been making excellent progress. He feels confident. Not recklessly so. Just the natural confidence that comes when things are going according to plan. That confidence is about to lead his unit into a situation they're not prepared for. Not because of what's ahead of them, but because of what they're not seeing in the details around them. This is a story about how danger doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it hides in things that seem too minor to worry about. And by the time those minor things add up to a major problem, you're already in the middle of it. Let's understand the context. American forces have been advancing steadily through France. The German army is falling back, trying to establish defensive lines, but struggling to maintain cohesion. The momentum clearly favors the Allies. This particular unit has been moving forward for 3 days. They've encountered resistance, but nothing overwhelming. A few pockets of German rearguards, some scattered defensive positions. Nothing that stopped them for more than a few hours. The battalion commander reviews progress reports and feels satisfied. They're ahead of schedule. Casualties have been light. Supply lines are holding. Intelligence suggests enemy forces in the area are disorganized and retreating. Everything in the reports supports the conclusion that this is a straightforward advance through weakly defended territory. The kind of operation that, while requiring vigilance, doesn't demand extreme caution. Orders reflect this assessment. Maintain speed. Keep pressure on the retreating enemy. Don't allow them time to consolidate. This is pursuit, not assault. Push forward confidently. The word confidently matters. It sets a tone. It creates a mindset. When leadership communicates confidence, it spreads through the ranks. Soldiers move with less hesitation. Officers make decisions with less second-guessing. Everyone operates under the assumption that the situation is fundamentally under control. And for 3 days, nothing has contradicted that assumption. The platoon moving down the country road this morning has every reason to believe the next few miles will be similar to the last few. Clear terrain, minimal contact, steady progress. Their confidence isn't arrogance. It's based on genuine experience, on consistent evidence, on a pattern that has held true for days. But patterns can be deceptive, especially when someone wants you to see a pattern. The first small thing happens an hour into the day's march. A scout reports something odd. The local civilians they've been seeing occasionally along the route seem to have disappeared. No farmers in the fields, no one on the roads. The few houses they pass appear empty. The platoon leader notes this. It's unusual, but he rationalizes it quickly. Civilians often flee when they hear fighting approaching. Maybe they got word that the front was moving this direction. Maybe they're just being cautious. It's not alarming enough to stop the advance. Not significant enough to report up the chain as a warning. Just a minor anomaly in an otherwise normal day. They continue moving forward. 30 minutes later, another small thing. The road they're following is in surprisingly good condition. No shell craters, no signs of recent combat, no abandoned equipment or defensive positions. One of the sergeants mentions this to the platoon leader. "Sir, this road looks too clean, like nobody fought here at all." The platoon leader considers this. It's true, but again, there's a reasonable explanation. Maybe the German retreat was so fast, They didn't have time to destroy infrastructure. Maybe this particular route wasn't considered important enough to defend heavily. "Keep your eyes open," he tells the sergeant, "but maintain pace." The column continues, another 20 minutes. A soldier notices something in the tree line to their right. Fresh vehicle tracks leading off the road into the woods. Recent. Maybe hours old, but heading perpendicular to the expected direction of German retreat. This gets reported. The platoon leader studies the tracks briefly. Could be anything. A lost vehicle. A patrol that took a wrong turn. German forces are disorganized. Odd movements are to be expected. He makes a judgment call. Investigating would slow them down. The tracks don't indicate an immediate threat to their route. They're supposed to keep moving forward, not chase every possible side trail. "Noted in the log," he says. "Keep moving." Each of these decisions is reasonable. Individually, none of these signs is conclusive evidence of danger. And the overall pattern, steady advance, light resistance, enemy retreat, remains unchanged. But this is how hidden problems work. They don't announce themselves with obvious warnings. They accumulate in small details that individually seem insignificant. Details that get noticed but rationalized, observed but not acted upon. Because acting on every minor anomaly would mean stopping constantly, slowing down, losing momentum. And right now, momentum feels like the most important thing. By midday, the column has covered significant ground. They're making excellent time. No contact with enemy forces. The road ahead continues to look clear. At a brief halt, the platoon leader radios his company commander. Reports position and status. Everything nominal. Request permission to continue advance. The company commander reviews the map. This unit is actually ahead of the rest of the battalion, making better time than expected. That's good news. Shows initiative. Shows the enemy really is on the run. "Maintain advance," the company commander orders. "You're doing great. Keep the pressure on." The platoon leader feels validated. His decisions were correct. His pace was appropriate. The lack of serious resistance confirms what intelligence suggested. This area is lightly defended. He briefs his men before moving out again. "We're ahead of schedule. Enemy is retreating faster than expected. Stay alert, but expect light resistance if any. We'll be in the next objective area by late afternoon." His soldiers absorb this message. Their confidence grows. The tension that naturally accompanies advancing through enemy territory eases slightly. Not into carelessness, just into the kind of relaxed alertness that comes when you've been proven right multiple times. They move out again. Now here's what they don't know. What they can't know from their position and their limited perspective. The empty roads, the clean route, the lack of resistance, these aren't random. They're deliberate. German forces in this sector didn't retreat chaotically. They withdrew according to a plan. A plan designed to create exactly this situation. American units advancing confidently along predictable routes into areas where the terrain and positioning favor defense. The fresh vehicle tracks that soldier noticed? Those were German units moving into flanking positions after pulling back from the road. The empty villages? Civilians evacuated specifically because German commanders knew there would be fighting here. The clean road? Kept intact deliberately so American forces would use it. Every detail that seemed like evidence of enemy weakness was actually evidence of enemy preparation. But from inside the advancing column, these details look like good news, like confirmation that the advance is proceeding as expected. This is the hidden problem, not in what they're seeing, but in how they're interpreting what they're seeing. The first real warning comes in early afternoon. The platoon rounds a gentle curve in the road, and the point man suddenly raises his fist. Column halt. Everyone freezes. Weapons come up. Eyes scan the surroundings. The point man moves back to the platoon leader. "Sir, something feels wrong. Can't say exactly what, just wrong." The platoon leader trusts his point man. The guy's been at this long enough to know when something's off. But feels wrong isn't actionable intelligence. "What are you seeing?" the platoon leader asks. "Nothing specific, sir. That's what's bothering me. This is perfect ambush country. Good sight lines from those hills. Trees right up to the road. We've been making noise for the last hour. If I was defending, I'd hit us right about here." The platoon leader looks around. The point man isn't wrong about the terrain. This is a vulnerable stretch, but they've been passing through terrain like this all day. Why would this particular section be different? Could be, but we haven't seen any sign of prepared positions. No indication enemy forces are in this area in strength. "Yes, sir. I know. Just something feels off. It's a gut feeling, intuition, not evidence, and the pressure to maintain momentum is real. They're ahead of schedule, making good time. Intelligence says the enemy is retreating. The platoon leader makes a decision. We'll proceed, but increase interval between squads. Keep eyes on those tree lines. Any contact, we halt and assess immediately." It's a compromise. Acknowledging the concern without fully acting on it. Maintaining forward movement while adding a small measure of caution. The column moves forward again, more slowly now, with heightened attention. But they're still moving forward, still committed to the advance, because nothing concrete has told them to stop. They make it another 400 meters before everything changes. It starts with a sound, not gunfire, something else, a mechanical sound. Engines, multiple engines, coming from the direction they just passed. The platoon leader's mind races. That's behind them. How can there be? Then the gunfire erupts, but not from ahead, from the sides, from positions in the trees that weren't there, or rather, were there all along but invisible until this moment. Machine gun fire rakes the road. The column scatters. Soldiers dive for cover. Some make it to the ditches. Others take positions behind whatever's available. The platoon leader's training takes over. He's shouting orders, directing fire, trying to assess the situation. But even as he does, he's realizing something horrifying. This isn't a chance encounter. This is a prepared ambush. The Germans didn't retreat from this area. They withdrew to positions specifically chosen to hit American units moving down this exact road. And now there are sounds of combat from behind them. The mechanical noises were German forces moving to cut off their rear. The unit isn't just being ambushed, they're being surrounded. All those small details flash through his mind. The empty villages, the clean road, the vehicle tracks, his point man's warning. They were all pieces of the same picture. A picture he couldn't see because he was too focused on the larger pattern of enemy retreat. Because the situation had been going so well for so long that cautious observation got replaced by confident expectation. The hidden problem wasn't hidden at all. It was right there in the details. Details that got noticed, but dismissed as insignificant because they didn't fit the story everyone believed they were in. The immediate situation is desperate but not hopeless. American soldiers are well trained. They return fire effectively. The platoon leader gets on the radio to call for support. But here's the problem. They're in a position chosen by the enemy, fighting on terrain that favors the defenders. Their formation is optimized for advance, not for this kind of fight. They're strung out along a road instead of in defensive positions. Their heavy weapons are not ideally placed. Their supply vehicles are exposed. Everything about their disposition reflects the confidence with which they approached this area. And now they're paying the price for that confidence. The company commander receives the contact report with shock. He'd sent them forward believing they'd face minimal resistance. Now they're in a serious firefight and possibly cut off. He orders the rest of the company to move forward in support, but carefully, because now he's wondering, is this the only ambush? Are other German positions waiting for more American units to confidently advance into similar situations? The certainty that guided decisions an hour ago has evaporated. Now every meter of advance requires caution. Every decision must consider possibilities that seemed unlikely when the day started. Meanwhile, the platoon on the road is fighting hard. They're taking casualties. German positions are well sighted and camouflaged. Return fire is having limited effect. The situation is deteriorating. The platoon leader realizes they can't stay where they are. They need to break contact and pull back to more defensible terrain. But that means retreating, giving up the ground they'd advanced so confidently across. More critically, it means admitting that the situation they thought they were in wasn't real, that their confident advance was based on incomplete understanding, that the enemy wasn't as disorganized or weak as they'd believed. Over the next several hours, the situation stabilizes but doesn't improve dramatically. American forces commit more units to extract the ambushed platoon. Artillery is called in. Air support when possible. Eventually, they succeed in breaking the German positions enough to pull back. The casualties aren't catastrophic. The unit doesn't cease to exist, but they're significant. Much higher than anything they'd experienced in the previous 3 days of easy advance. And the momentum is gone. The confident push forward has been replaced by cautious probing. Units that were racing ahead are now moving slowly, checking every tree line, investigating every anomaly. The battalion commander reviews what happened with frustration, not at the platoon leader. The man made reasonable decisions based on the information available and the context of their successful advance. But the outcome is still bitter. "We walked right into it," he says to his staff. "Every sign was there. We just didn't want to see them because we were so confident things were going our way." His intelligence officer nods. The Germans staged a tactical withdrawal specifically to create this situation. They wanted us moving fast and confident, made it easy for us to do exactly what benefited them most. It's a hard lesson. Success creates confidence. Confidence creates expectations. Expectations create blind spots, and enemies can exploit those blind spots more effectively than they can overcome your strengths. Here's what makes this type of situation so dangerous and so common in warfare. The American troops didn't fail because they were poorly trained or incompetent. They failed because they were succeeding. Their success created a pattern. That pattern created confidence. That confidence made them less likely to seriously consider information that contradicted their expectations. Every military teaches its soldiers to be alert for danger. But how do you stay alert for danger when everything is going well? When every piece of evidence seems to confirm that caution can be relaxed? When maintaining high alert feels like wasting energy on unlikely threats? The answer is, it's incredibly difficult. Human psychology works against it. Organizations work against it. The entire structure of military operations creates pressure to maintain momentum when things are going well. The platoon leader who noticed small anomalies and decided they weren't significant enough to stop wasn't being careless. He was being practical. He was weighing real observations against operational requirements and making judgment calls that seemed appropriate at the time. His company commander, who encouraged maintaining advance, wasn't being reckless. He was responding to what appeared to be a successful operation that deserved continued pressure. Even the point man, who felt something was wrong but couldn't articulate why, wasn't ignored. His concerns were acknowledged. Precautions were taken. Just not enough precautions. This is how hidden problems work. They hide not in the absence of information, but in the interpretation of information. They hide in the gap between what you're seeing and what you're expecting to see. And by the time that gap becomes obvious, you're already in the middle of the problem. In the days following the ambush, American forces continue their advance, but differently, more carefully. With less assumption that enemy weakness is permanent or predictable. The soldiers who survived the ambush carry that experience with them. They're more skeptical of easy routes, more likely to investigate anomalies, more cautious about assuming they understand the situation. But there's a cost to this too. Extreme caution slows operations, makes commanders second-guess decisions, can create paralysis where speed would be beneficial. The challenge isn't choosing between confidence and caution. It's knowing when each is appropriate. And that knowledge often only comes through experience, sometimes painful experience. The platoon leader thinks about his decisions constantly in the weeks afterward. Could he have seen it coming? Were the signs clear enough to justify stopping the advance? Objectively, probably not. The signs were subtle, interpretable in multiple ways. Acting on every minor concern would have made forward movement impossible. But subjectively, he knows that his confidence played a role, that he saw what he expected to see rather than what was actually there, that the success of the previous days made him less likely to seriously consider that the situation had changed. And that's the lesson that stays with him. Not that he should never be confident, but that confidence should never become certainty. That the moment you're sure you understand the situation is precisely when you should question that understanding most carefully. This story isn't unique. Variations of it happen throughout every war. Forces advance confidently into situations they don't fully understand. Small warnings get dismissed. Patterns get misread. Problems that were visible in hindsight were invisible in the moment. It happens because warfare combines incomplete information with pressure for action. Because success creates momentum that's hard to question. Because human minds naturally seek patterns and confirmation of expectations. The American troops who advanced down that road weren't foolish. They were human, operating in uncertainty with limited information and pressure to keep moving forward. The tragedy isn't that they made mistakes. It's that they made reasonable decisions that turned out to be wrong. That they trusted patterns that were deliberately created to deceive them. That they allowed confidence to subtly replace the caution they knew was necessary. And by the time the hidden problem revealed itself, they were in the worst possible position to deal with it. Not because they weren't prepared to fight, but because they were prepared for the wrong fight, in the wrong place, against an enemy that was stronger and better positioned than they'd believed possible. The problem was always there, hidden not in darkness but in plain sight, disguised as confirmation of what they wanted to believe. That the advance was easy because the enemy was weak. That confidence was justified because success